You will lose control of the call. You will lose the respect of the person you were talking to. And because of that, the recommendations and the asks that you are making of them won't carry nearly as much weight. Hey, what's up? I'm Ray Green, former executive turned nomad entrepreneur, and I have made the vast majority of my own wealth and wealth for my clients in sales. Sales wasn't like a natural inroad for me. Like, I was kind of shy, I was introverted, and when I got started selling, frankly, I didn't even want to do it. I was actually taking a sales job really just to get to a real job after that, right? Like, I was just gonna plug my nose and start selling. But once I got in the game, what I found was the other job that I wanted, I no longer wanted. And I fell in love with sales and building sales teams and sales organizations. And over the course of 20 years, I've had the opportunity to really see a lot of different personalities and who performs well, who doesn't. And so much of it comes down to mindset. Now, let me start with the first thing. And the first thing is kind of like this meta mindset approach to it. And it's basically learning how to reframe things. Okay, so from a sales management perspective, I can't tell you how many times I've hired two people into the same role, same compensation, same product that they're selling, same manager, same sales culture, environment, business, everything. You go talk to those same two people 90 days later. One person's miserable. They aren't selling anything. All they can do is complain. They tell you about the lead quality and nothing's working and all of the negativity that's around their role. You talk to somebody else in the seat literally next to them and they're crushing it. And you look at it and you go, on the outside, literally nothing is different, okay? There are no external factors that are happening that are causing one person to love it and one person not to. What it comes down to is the ability to frame things in the way that you want. Like, some people have a really good knack for reframing things. Like, they can get stuck in a tough situation and they look at it and they're able to change the way that they look at that situation and understand that their perspective is more powerful than the actual circumstances that they're facing. Some people, no matter what you do, they're gonna find some reason to bitch about it, some reason to be negative about it. They're gonna find something wrong with it. And what I have seen is that one of the single most important factors in developing the right mindset and the right attitude with sales comes down to developing the ability to reframe things, developing the ability to take a step back and look at a situation and say, you know what? A lot of this is just my perspective. A lot of this is how I'm responding to the external circumstances. So what I'm going to do is consciously make a decision to change that. Now, the second thing is changing your relationship with sales to begin with. Some people may say, I got to make 20, 30, 50 calls today, and I'm going to be annoying people. They don't want to talk to me. They don't really want to buy my stuff. They probably don't even really need this stuff. And they're going to look at their role as a role that is really just designed to go annoy the shit out of people on a day-to-day basis or get people to do things that they don't want. What I would do is I'd take a step back and first I'd ask, do I believe that my customers or my clients are better off in their life or their business or whatever it is when they buy our stuff? And if the answer to that is no, then I would take a step back and I'd say, hey, I've got to go sell something else, right? Like, it doesn't have to be your life's passion, right? But you've got to believe that when people buy your stuff, that they are better off for it. When you believe that, everything that you do changes. The way that you build rapport, your tonality, your body language, the way you communicate changes when you have conviction about what you're selling, right? And you believe that you are making people's lives better. When you don't, it's gonna reek, right? Like that, you're gonna project that all over the place. So changing your mindset from I'm here to annoy people or get them to do things they don't want to I'm here to help starts with asking, are they better off when they buy our stuff? If the answer to that is yes, then that's what you got to keep in mind when you're going through the sales motion and the sales activity and making those calls, sending those emails, showing up on the sales call, doing whatever it is that you're going to do to sell people. Now that ties into the third thing here, which is we serve people by selling, right? So go back to this and say, again, do I believe in what I'm selling? Right? Don't have to be super passionate about it, but I have to believe that when people give me money, they're better off for it. So I'm here to help. So the third piece of this is I'm going to serve people by selling. And what I mean by that is if you believe that you make people's lives better as a result of buying your stuff, then if you don't sell them the right way, if you don't execute best practices, if you don't challenge them and coach them, then you're letting them down. You're letting them stay in a state that isn't as productive as it would have been if they paid you. So look at that and say, hey, what we do really helps people. And because of that, if I don't sell them properly, then I am letting them stay in a position that isn't as good as it would have been if they bought our stuff. The fourth thing is, you've got to remember that regardless of whether you are an SDR making your 100th call for the day, or you are putting on your suit and tie and going to visit somebody to close a 7-figure deal. You were showing up to talk to a peer. The mindset for a lot of salespeople is they put themselves in a subservient position or a subservient role. That comes through in how they're trying to build rapport. It comes through in the tonality, right? Like you can hear them and they start talking like this and their octave goes up just a little bit, right? Like you've got to understand, no matter where you are in sales roles and no matter who you are calling on, you've got to take the role of you're talking to a peer. Everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time, okay? And just because you're calling a CEO or a business owner, multimillionaire, billionaire, whatever it is, whoever your audience is, you've got to go into that with the mindset that you are talking to another peer, that you are going to earn their respect and that they are going to follow your advice or take your recommendations because you are equals. Titles be damned, right? Net worth be damned, experience be damned. I promise you that they're going to sense it. And you will lose control of the call. You will lose the respect of the person you were talking to. And because of that, the recommendations and the asks that you are making of them won't carry nearly as much weight. The fifth one here is actually a way of managing objections, rebuttals, things like that. And it's having a childlike curiosity. When I've done sales coaching or listened to client calls or whatever it is, a lot of times I hear these attempts to overcome objections and they sound really confrontational. Maybe it's the way that they say it, maybe it's the words that they're saying, but you can just feel the person on the other end of the phone or Zoom call or whatever it is start to get defensive, right? And then you've got this like friction, you've got this conflict that's basically happening and you've changed the relationship, right? When somebody says, I'm not interested, instead of saying, not interested in what? You say, oh, what is it you aren't interested in? Like the way that you deliver it is going to change dramatically. And if you are approaching this conversation and every objection that you get with surprise and curiosity, you will get away with more in the conversation than you will if I, as a prospect, think that you're not on the same side as I am. If I think that you're just being curious and you're asking questions, what it's going to do is it's going to give you the ability to bring out information that's helpful in helping you close the deal, but also helpful in coaching the prospect through what it is that's really going on, because the surface level objection is rarely the real objection. So when you ask questions and keep the conversation going, you actually allow them to peel the onion a little bit and you get more valuable information as a result of it, and you can have a more productive discussion. It's a win-win. The sixth one here, sales is a leadership role, right? Like your job as a salesperson is to help people make decisions that are in their best interest. In a lot of ways, you're like a coach. Like you've got to know when to ask questions. You've got to know when to challenge. You've got to know when to just shut up and listen. It puts you in a leadership role, and your sole focus is helping them make a decision that is in their best interest. Now, again, go all the way back to the beginning. Do you believe that people are better off as a result of buying your stuff? If that's the case, then most of the time when you're helping them make a decision, you're going to be helping them make the decision to buy your stuff. But sometimes it's not the case. When I'm selling, my role as a salesperson is to determine, can we help you? If we can help you, then it's my job to help you make the decision to buy our stuff so that we can help you. And it's really important to remember that a lot of times people don't know how to buy your stuff, right? Like whether you're selling coaching services, IT services, consulting services, whatever it is, oftentimes this is the first or the second time that they've ever purchased these services. So they may not even know how to buy your stuff. Your job is to help them make that decision. It is to walk them through the process, and it is to be a leader and guide them from point A to point B. And if you really have that mindset and that's what you project, you're going to build more allies in your sales process than you do opponents. The seventh thing that's really important to remember as a salesperson is you've got to approach things as if I don't need this, right? Like if you are desperate, if you have to have this, you're going to lose most of the time. Because first of all, person with the most leverage, in other words, the person who needs this transaction to happen least is actually going to win most of the time when it comes to any negotiation. So if you approach every sale or every sales call or whatever it is that you're doing with the mindset that I've got to have this, like I'm desperate to get this, I have to have this, you're going to reek of commission breath, and people can smell it a mile away, and you will lose credibility and trust instantly. So before you pick up the phone, before you go on a big sales call, take a step back and make sure that you put yourself in the mindset of, I don't have to have this. If you are desperate, your conversion rates and your close rates will plummet. Two more here. One is just a relationship with no's. In sales, no's are part of the process. There is no way for you to maximize sales and not get some no's along the way. So if you spend all of your time trying to avoid no, by default, you're avoiding yeses. You want to change your relationship with no's and embrace them. Like, recognize this is part of the process. It's like you can listen to almost any of the most inspirational speeches from Michael Jordan when he talks about all the shots that he's missed, all the game winning shots that he's missed, or Wayne Gretzky, who says, you know, you miss all the shots that you don't take. Like, what they're trying to tell you is change your relationship with failure and recognize that some degree of failure is part of the process if you want to win. So if you want more yeses, if you want to close more sales, the best way to do it, get more no's. And the last one here is get a pregame routine for your sales calls. Like, develop a ritual that you can use to make sure that you're approaching every new sales opportunity with a fresh perspective. And this is true whether you're an SDR or BDR that's making 150 calls a day, or you're an enterprise level salesperson that's going on 2 to 3 sales calls a week. Think of it like this, like basketball players, when they go up to the free throw line, like they almost always have a ritual. They have a process. And what they're doing with that ritual and that process is a mindset practice. They know I'm gonna step up to the free throw line, I'm gonna bounce the ball 3 times, I'm gonna spin it, and I'm gonna take my shot. And if I miss, I'm gonna take a step back, I'm gonna step back up, and I'm gonna do the same thing. And I want it to run like clockwork, and I don't want any of the bad energy from maybe a shot that I missed a few minutes ago, or maybe the foul prior to this, to carry over into that free throw. And if you're making 200 calls a day, maybe it's something as simple as deep breath, make my call, start fresh. That person that you're calling has no idea that the last person you talked to screamed at you, or hung up the phone, or cussed you out. And you don't want them to. It's the first time that they're actually talking to you. It's the first impression that they're gonna have of you. It is a fresh call and a fresh opportunity for all intents and purposes. But come up with a routine and a practice that you can use consistently so that you're going in with a clear mind. I hope this has been helpful for you in terms of, you know, maybe changing the relationship that you have with sales, or if you're already deep into sales, just having a few things that you can use to reframe the situation, get your head back in the game, maximize results, and help the people that you sell to get the results or the transformation or the promise of whatever it is that you sell. If you found this helpful, you may like some of my other videos on sales here.